What's your favorite flower to grow? Be honest, just tell me. I won't tell everybody that you picked a favorite, but let me tell you mine. It's a dahlia. So I'm truly excited to walk you through today's video and show you my 2024 dahlia lineup. As you might have seen in the thumbnail as well, we're having a little giveaway later. I won't spoil it right now, but you might want to note down your favorite varieties you see. But that comes later. First, we'll go through what I'm going to plant in my garden in terms of dahlias this year, which I saved from last year, and then I have the giveaway instructions, and after that we'll see what new varieties I add. It's not as many as you might think because my space is limited, but nevertheless 2024 is going to be beautiful, and I'm so excited to walk you through this video, which is one of my favorite videos in the year to shoot, so I hope it's one of your favorites too. I'm Steffi, I'm a home gardener here in Attleboro, Massachusetts, is Zone 6, and I just love to share the flower joy here on my channel, so welcome to be here. Sit back, relax, and enjoy the show. Let me walk you through my garden space a little bit so you get a feeling for how much space I have to actually grow with my dahlias. So when we look here at the overhead footage, you see those L's lining the garden. Those are my cut flower garden spaces. So the large L is mostly the ones where I grow flowers from seeds, like my fillers, my zinnias, my celosia, some basil for the nice scent. So we already covered this in a video from before. If you want to see this, you can check out this link. But the smaller flower L on the right hand side, which is like 13.5 feet long on the front at the arch, and then 11.5 feet deep going into the bed, and 3 feet wide. That is where I grow purely my dahlias this year. And yes, I did sneak a few into the larger L as well, like I think 6 feet or something, or 9 feet next to the arch. So we have the arch with the roses on, and then left and right, starting with some dahlias this year. I have the peachy ones on the left hand side, and everything blush white, pinkish in this smaller L. So that's how we are going to go through them today. So let's get started. All right, let's start here on this large flower L to finish this one up, and then we go into the full dahlia smaller growing space right after. So I have 7, yeah, I have 7 feet of growing space parked in this one. One word of caution, or one little disclaimer I should give you here. I plant my dahlias quite compact together and closer together than most resources recommend. I have 1 per square feet, and it has worked fine for me. Typically what is recommended is more like an 18 feet spacing, but this 1 dahlia per square foot has worked very, very well for me. I think one of the reasons is, number one, I plant them in a slightly raised bed, so my beds are a foot from the ground, elevated, with those edging which I used to make those beds, but also they have some space to reach over. So for that reason, like in the past seasons, it has always worked well. I also cut them hard. So I plant them purely for the purpose of being a cut flower. So I don't have them sitting there just bloom out and have non-stop big fat blooms sitting on the plant. When it comes to bloom, I typically cut them. I really, really rarely leave them on the plant, because what is important to know with dahlias as well, the more you cut, the more blooms you get. I know it is very, very counterintuitive, but promise me we'll do some videos when we have this season going. The more you cut, the more blooms you get. I'll promise you. Once they reach maturity, I typically make sure that I take some leaves off on the bottom and provide some airflow for the bottom part, so that has never been an issue. I do get every once in a while, like very, very late, some powdery mildew here and there in my garden, but that is on everything, not only on the dahlias in certain areas, but this, depending on the weather, really, really hard to avoid with us here. But again, also, I'm just growing them for friends and family, not commercial, so they don't have to be the most pristine one, although I gotta say, most of them are pristine. enough of that. Let's dive into the varieties I have. So again, make sure you note them down, which you like, and I'll come to that shortly after I'm done here talking about what I have stocked for this year. So one of my varieties, so we go from left to right on the plan here. One variety which I liked because it was really a cute ball one, which I had a few really pretty pictures from, is the Cornell Bronze. It's also one which lasts in the vase particularly well compared to other dahlias. As you might know, they're here for a good time, not a long time, so they don't usually have the best vase life, but this one ranks on the better side of things, and it's really a pretty one. It has long stems, it grows very well. It shows up for me rather late in the season, so I have a lot of other dahlias blooming before this one shows, but I'm always happy when it shows up. So this one is definitely a keeper. And then I have 2 rows of one of my favorite ones, and now this is a popular fan favorite in general, which is the Peaches and Cream. It's just such a beautiful dahlia all around, and I grew last year. No, I grew it in 2022 for the first time. So last year was my second year, but it's just gorgeous. It has long stems, the blooms with the leaves like going over the bloom head completely and making it even pretty from the back. It's just one of those dahlias which you can look at from every angle and you find it very pretty and gorgeous, and it mixes very well with all kinds of colors, being like this white but also peachy color. It goes exceptionally well with a lot of colors for many different type of bouquets, and I'm planting like 6 plants out from that. This is also one of the dahlias where I'm always looking forward to dividing tubers, because even the tuber clumps from this plant are gorgeous because they're always like spaced out nicely. They have plenty eyes on it, so super easy to divide because you have space to cut into the tubers to divide them, and they're all like nicely shaped. Like it's a beautiful dahlia all around. Then we come to 2 of my very favorites. So the first one is the Cozy Town Gale. If you followed me for a while, you know that I'm a huge fan of Cozy Town flowers. Leanne is a dahlia hybridizer here out of, I think, the Pittsburgh area in Pennsylvania, and it's just gorgeous flowers all around. And I was lucky enough to have a few of her varieties in my garden, and the empty spots I still have in my garden are actually bookmarked, hopefully for a few of her new varieties. At the moment when I record this video, the sale date is not out yet, but it's typically somewhere mid-March, and yeah, just look at her new introductions. Her tubers are worth every penny. I think they're still somewhat flying under the radar, but I gotta say her varieties perform for me a lot better here in New England in my garden than any varieties or anything what was hybridized on the West Coast. So for that reason, go check her out. Don't take away the tubers I want to buy because I definitely want some. But the Cozy Town Gale was the first one which hooked me up, and the other one which I have here is even more beautiful, which is the Baby Cakes, which I think is one of her OG varieties, which put her on the map of dahlia hybridizers. It's a beautiful, almost like unicorn colored dahlia. I think it's like classified as an formal decorative from the shape or so. I'm not 100% on top of those Dahlia Society classification shapes, but it's gorgeous. It has also a great vase life. It is bonkersly productive in terms of blooms, but also tubers. So I gotta check what I have. I had 4 plants in my garden last year and have like 22 tubers stored right now from that variety, and I only have space for 6. So yeah, so you get a sense of why I'm doing the giveaway later. But it's one of my most beautiful tuber varieties I have in my garden. I always look forward to seeing it. Let's move on with the other side of the L, so right next to the arch, next to my rose, I'm going to plant 2 rows of my favorite white dahlia, which is the Blizzard. And if you're following me any time, you know how much of a sucker I'm in for white blooms. I just love them. I don't know what it is, any type of flower which comes around with a white bloom, I'm swooned by it. I don't know what it is, but I just love them. Let's move on to the Bloomquist Compare, which is one of my absolute favorite ones, which I have in my lineup here. It is an one-of-a-kind dahlia in terms of color, great throughout the season. I'm not sure if you know, but depending on the temperatures, dahlias have a tendency to shift colors, and this one is a beautiful example. It typically starts out when it's still a little bit more cold or cooler in the season, with like lavender, like with a white and light sprinkle of pink, and then the hotter it gets more a lavender hue, and then when it goes back to fall, it goes down to this pinkish one again. It's just gorgeous. It is prolific. It cranks out blooms like nobody's business as well, and also produces tubers in a great amount, which store very well for me. So an all around beautiful one, and with this blushy color palette, it literally, you will find it almost in every bouquet I created last year. It is just gorgeous, and I love it very hard. So I have I have 2 rows of this one as well. Then the next one is one which is beautiful and oftentimes a favorite from many people, is the Sweet Natalie. It is a very, very soft pink with round edges, which has for me also a decent vase life so far. So I always enjoy this one. The only complaint with that one I have is it doesn't produce for me continuously through the season. It comes in flushes, so it flushes out right away, and it's typically one of the first months which blooms for me. And then when it's done with the first blooms, it recuperates for a few weeks, and then it cranks out another one. It's not like other plants or other varieties I have which just keep cranking, like the Blizzard or the baby cakes or so. Once you have your first bloom, you have blooms until the end of the season. So this is like a slight complaint, but it's still so pretty that I have it in my garden, and I just love it. Next one up is the Castle Drive, which is a beautiful one for me as well. It has a very, very similar growing pattern than the Sweet Natalie. It comes like in waves for me, but interestingly, it bounces itself off the Sweet Natalie. So when the Sweet Natalie is done, I typically get the Castle Drive, so it's a little bit later for me. And I just love the color pattern. It has like an yellowy, pinky hue in it, so it really goes alongside with almost any of my colors in the garden. I gotta say, it's not as prolific as other bloomers, so it still gets this year in my garden. So, but I'm not sure, depending on the new varieties I might be able to snack from Cozy Town, if it still gets space next year or as much space. So we will see about it, but that is something what you need to decide in the end for yourself, right? Which varieties are worth growing for you and in your area and in your region, which can be very different depending on the climate and the summers and the weather and everything. So don't be scared of cutting plants which don't bring the joy 100% to you. It's just part of the game if you have not unlimited resources, which I would argue none of us have, right? So for that reason, it's always like at the end of the season, a no-go or go decision for those varieties. The next one is a fan favorite of mine as well, which is the Cozy Town K. You might have seen it in a lot of my bouquets last year as well. I just had 1 tuber. I'm always nervous to just get 1 tuber, but from Cozy Town they do so exceptionally well, and they also produce so many tubers and store so well that those multiply quick for me. And this one was definitely one of them. And I just love this classic pink bloom, and it was so gorgeous and fitted so well with my like blush and white color scheme. I just loved it so much. I have potentially 2 rows. I'm still deciding if I want to plant 1 or 2 rows. Again, depends a little bit on how many tubers I still add. So that's the plan right now, currently for 2 rows, but might get bumped down to just 1 row with 3 plants. So we'll see about it. But this one has been gorgeous, and also extremely long stems, and prolific like stability in the blooms, as all of the flowers I've gotten from Cozy Town. It's gorgeous for cut flower gardening. Then the next one is the one which you can file under the one who started the craze, which is my cafe au lait. This is literally the one I planted out as one of my first dahlias in my little OG cut flower beds on the other side of the garden. And once I had the first bloom in my hand, I was lost. I was in love, and I was so sure I'm going to grow dahlias for forever, because I fell in love so hard on this one. So this will be a forever grow for me, forever and ever. And I have 2 rows of this one. This really is one which is a little bit difficult sometimes in the performance, because it's a dinner plate. They produce like really, really large blooms. And as you can imagine, the bigger the blooms, the more energy the plants put into producing those blooms. So it's typically not as many blooms as like a small like pom-pom dahlia or something. So just something to consider when you pick your varieties. And sometimes you could argue a dinner plate is hard to make bouquets with, because it definitely always demands the center of the attention, which is lovely if you want that, right? But if you want to have mixed bouquets or a lot of variety in bouquets, that might be not the one to go with, because it takes up a lot of space and it draws attention to it like nothing else, I would argue. But it's gorgeous, it's beautiful. It has also a color variety through the seasons. It's typically more pinkyish in the margins for me when I start out, and then when the temperatures cool down, end of August, beginning of September, that is when it gets this cafe, like this light cafe touch of a color to it. So I really, really love it. And then the next one is also one of my most favorite one. This is the Diva, where the name is the game. It shows up late. It is so gorgeous. It will draw every attention in the garden to it. And yeah, it wants to be the star in every bouquet by the color and by the shape of it. So I still chuckle about this name because it's so perfect for it. It is in really, really thick dahlia bloom head. You can't believe like how many petals it has. And also the color is incredibly hard to capture on camera, but it's a dark purple, which looks almost like velvet. It is gorgeous. I love it. It's like one of my most favorite dahlias to design with. It is always the centerpiece of a bouquet, but it's not as big as a dinner plate. Like it's like that big as a bloom, versus a dinner plate is more like this type. So it still goes along well with other dahlias, but it's typically, no matter what you do, it's a star just by its color of the bouquet. But it still mixes well with all the other like blushes and pinks I have in the garden. So yeah, as you can tell, I'm very much in love with it. So this is one which we will grow also 6 plants of. Like the first year I grew it in 2022, I didn't have many tubers, but last year the plants produced better tubers for me, so I have enough to definitely grow 6 plants for it, and yeah, I just love it. The next one is called Daisy Duke. This was a first for me last year, and I really, really liked it. It wasn't the best performing one for me, but it sprouted late, and I had a feeling it was like battling a little bit around with the other ones next to it. So I definitely want to give it another try because I enjoyed this color so much. I have a hard time to describe this color, but it's almost like an it has a peachy undertone, but also tones of purple in it. So if that makes sense to you, it goes in every color direction of what I have in my garden. So it mixes very, very well. The shape of it, I think it's called also formal decorative, is really, really beautiful and a good vase life there for it, and ages nicely too. But yeah, the color is probably what drew me to that one very, very much, because it mixes so well with the rest, and I don't have many of the darker or deeper or rich colors in my garden. So every once in a while I do love that, to have some accents one way or the other. So that is where we have one row of this, and then another one which is a forever grow for me because it's so bonkersly productive, an amazing tuber producer, and its color again mixes with every little thing in my garden, and that's the Foxy Lady. It is also really, really nice with the stems. The stems every once in a while, like when you get closer to the end of the season, get a little wiggly, but other than that, it's a workhorse. Like if you're looking for a cute smaller dahlia, because it's like just like a smaller type of it. It is really, really productive, but I tuck this into every bouquet I have, and it doesn't stop producing blooms from the moment it starts until the end of the season. Like it's one of those dahlias which just doesn't stop, and that's why I'm loving it so much in that regard. So I plan 6 of that. It is also an incredible tuber producer. So I think this one, let me quickly check my smart sheet here. Where is it? The Foxy Lady. Exactly. I had just 3 plants of it last year, and it's 22 tubers, which I have in storage from it. So we'll have a lot of those. And yeah, and I'm only planning to plant 6. So there is a few ones which definitely need to be rehomed. And then the rest of the bed, so I still have 2 rows empty there. So in total, I have like 9 spots empty, plus a few which I could make empty if I want to, depending on what I get at the Cozy Town sale. But what is at the end of the L there, which I'm so excited about, is I want to grow out one of my seedlings from last year. You might have seen it. It is a very, very special one to my heart. I don't grow many Dahlia seedlings out, but this one, also from seeds from Cozy Town, this one took my breath away from the moment I saw it first blooming, and I just grew more fond of it through the season, because again, it produced a lot of blooms on that one plant, but also it ages so well. Like, I mean, just look at it, how it ages. It's gorgeous. It gets like a really, really gradient ombre type of color coding when it ages. It's like stunning. It's just the first year seedling, so who knows if it's a stable one. That is always the interesting portion with Dahlia seedlings. So you can keep the tubers of a seedling, which you grew from seed, so you never know what you get. But once you save the tubers, they should come back as the plant you saw last year, but not every Dahlia tuber does. So there are some ones which are not stable, and for that reason, typically Dahlia growers need to grow them out for minimum 3 years to see that the color and the shape and everything and all the specifics are coming back true to type and true to what you expect and have seen in last season for like 3 seasons in a row before you're actually allowed to name it. So at the moment we call it Steffi Seedlings 1. I do have a name in mind when it comes to that, but for that at the moment we just call it Seedling 1. But typically seedlings are not necessarily the biggest tuber producers in their first year, but this one produced 12 tubers. Again, like this is truly a theme with the Cozy Town varieties. Great flowers, but also great tubers which store super nice. So I just checked my tuber storage a few days ago, and they are all still super firm, rock solid. I do have a couple ones which look like eager beavers in terms of growing out eyes already. So I might need to pot them up because I can't pot them out before May over here. So we'll see, or I might take some cuttings or so. We'll see how they go. But everything else looks still perfectly fine and dormant and beautiful. So I do have 3 other varieties which I'm not planning to put into my cut flower bed, but in my OG flower beds, because 2 of them were rather short and I felt so bad because I liked them, but I felt so bad that they basically got like shaded out of the taller versions last year so much, so they get put like 2 of each in my original flower bed, so I don't need to put any other flowers into that this year. And this is the white netty. That is like a super cute white ball-shaped dahlia, but it's supposed to grow like 3.5 to 4 feet when you look it up, but for me it was never more like 2 feet tall of a plant, or maybe 2.5 feet if you were gracious and stretched it out a little. And same with the other one, which is called Bright to Be. This is the only water lily type variety I have in my setup, and it's gorgeous and I love it, and it's really, really cute. But both of those varieties are not the greatest cut flowers. They have rather short stems, so you have to really cut them deep and hard to get just a halfway decent stem length on it. But again, I love those white blooms, so I have a hard time dropping them, so they just get like parked in the OG flower bed, and I hope the bunnies won't go too bad on town to them. And then another one which got also bumped for height, but on the opposite side of the spectrum because it was too tall and gave me trouble for that reason, the cut flower bed. And this is the Bloomquist Golden. This was one of the first anemone type dahlias I've grown, and I really, really enjoyed it. But I think who even more enjoyed it were the pollinators, because as you might have seen again all over my Insta feed, I couldn't stop posting cute pictures of that flower with bumblebees on it. It had no vase life whatsoever, so I didn't cut them at all for vase life. I just deadheaded them so they kept blooming. But I enjoyed them so much for the pollinators, and like literally like bumblebees, bees, like any type of pollinator loved it and fed on it. And so for that reason, I don't want to get it out of my garden, but I'll park it on the in the OG flower beds, because there is a fence on the back, so I can stake them up at the fence there where they should have enough space for them to be happy and go wild and enjoy the pollinators there. All right, let's talk about the giveaway details. So as you can see, I have a lot of dahlias in stock, which I need to rehome. So I want to give away to 5 of you 5 dahlia tubers of your pick. How it works is I will pick the winners one by one. So the first winner has first choice. If they have all of their varieties, they get first. But if like number 2, for example, has a variety which is already claimed or so, I'll reach out to you to just make another pick out of my stock, and I have the inventory list, so it's easy for you to pick. A few things regarding the fine print: you should be 18 or older. I can only ship to the continental US, so sorry my international friends, I know I have a few. The giveaway is open until March 15th midnight. So for the winner, I will notify you in the comment and reply to your comment with my email address to reach out to this email address, and you have 7 days to claim the prize. Otherwise, I'll pick another person. And what's important to know as well is that I will ship those tubers after the danger of frost. So depending on where you are here in New England, nights are all still in frost, so I don't want to ruin those tubers in transit. So we're going to make sure that they will be shipped when it's safe to ship, which is probably like end of March or beginning of April, depending on the weather. But I'll coordinate with you for that. So how to enter the giveaway is to leave a comment underneath this video with the 5 varieties you want. Every comment is an entry, so knock yourself out if you want to put more comments in, but that is how you get entered into the giveaway. And yeah, good luck with you. Share it with your friends who are also dahlia people and who want to try some new varieties. So I'm looking forward to see all of your favorite picks in the comments. I did buy just a few additional tubers, which I'm getting this year to add to the garden. As you can tell, I have not much space left. And again, I'm still waiting for the Cozy Town tubers as well to come on. But I did pick a couple cool varieties, one tuber each to just plug them in from two sources where I like to order. One is Triple Run Farm because they have a really, really great selection. And I still love to try my hands on the KA varieties, although I gotta say, they do not perform well for me here. I had last year the KA Mocha Jake and the KA Rosie Ann or Rosie Joe, and both of them did really, really poorly in terms of tuber production, unfortunately, here. So that was sad because I love those, both of them so much. But yeah, they didn't do great. And I'm not sure if it's like a West Coast, East Coast thing, but we will see. So I do want to try another KA version, which is the KA Bo Peep. That would be my first cactus type dahlia, which I'm excited about, because I always like to not only mix colors but also shapes, because that always makes a great like differentiator in your bouquets. If you have like different type of textures going in with each other, it always makes it more interesting to the eye. And then like the other favorite varieties I have are Bloomquist varieties, and they have stunningly performed well in my garden. So I have the Bloomquist Dave, which I'm really curious to see how this one will look next to the Cozy Town baby cakes, because it looks from the color scheme very much alike. But yeah, I always love to compare those ones with each other. And then one which I've seen on many Insta feeds last year, which is the Bloomquist Ellen. And this is just a color which I love, those like blushy, soft, light yellowy leading into peachy pink. This is just a color where I have a hard time to resist, so I'm excited for this one. And then two varieties here from our local dahlia grower, which is not far away from me, which is the Dahlia Shed. The Cocoa Puff, which is just a cute little ball variety, which looks really great, and like a little bit more deeper pink color, which will hopefully go along super well with what I have. And then last but not least, Wynn's New Pastel, WNP as an abbreviation. And again, this leans more on my like peachy color palette, but should mix with a lot of things. So as you can tell, I'm so excited. Can't wait to have my dahlias with me again. I'm really curious to see what you pick in for the giveaway, but otherwise also let me know if you have any questions or any other comments, or what are your favorite dahlias to pick. I always love to learn about varieties I haven't heard about just yet. And yeah, otherwise subscribe and watch another video. Thank you.